Suddenly, a notification pops up declaring that the system has been activated for our host. Just as the man cries out in horror, his soul slips out of his body. He suddenly realizes he's been brought back to life or sent back in time. And the very first thing he spots is a huge, fat cat. Looking into his own eyes, he sees a giant black cat falling straight at him. Next, the giant Fane just flattens his face without a second thought. The guy wakes up, and the system already shows him the rewards for dying. Annoyed, he wonders what strange new system would let you grow stronger just by dying and what this sudden burst of power actually means. Full of anger, the young man punches the wall and shatters it with ease, only to complain about how much it cost. Right after he's blown away by his new strength and decides the system might actually be worth something. Curious about what his new skill points mean, he starts to wonder just what they're for. The boy tries to call the system to ask a few questions, but the blue screen stays dead and gives no answer. Lying on the floor, he cries because he has no one to teach him and will have to learn everything the hard way. As a passerby grumbles about the beggar in the way, the boy realizes his own true body is still standing right there. He doesn't even blink as he walks over to his old body, rifling through it to find anything hidden inside. When a man found some coins, he figured that copying them hundreds of times would make him rich. He thought passing on would hurt terribly, but since it happened once, he decided there was nothing left to fear. So the boy tries all kinds of crazy ways to die, like jumping off a tall building or getting hit by a random arrow while just walking down the street. Finally, he keeps eating until his stomach explodes from being so full. But every time he tried, it didn't work, and his grade stayed a failing F. Suddenly, a new screen flashes up showing he only has 5 lives left to bring him back, and the boy starts to panic. So if he wastes all his tries and misses by mistake, it's time to quit. This means he'll be cast out of the world, and the guy sighs in despair, realizing that even with the system, he's going to fail anyway. He stomped his foot, vowing to keep moving forward with purpose and never let that happen. The young guy is convinced he can find a way to use this system to his advantage and rise above the rest. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a person was just strolling down the city streets. A man is desperately trying to collect money from another guy to buy medicine for his mom, but the debtor just won't pay. From afar, our hero grinned, happy that this was exactly what he had hoped to see. When the debtor loses his patience, he throws the collector to the ground and yells for him to let go. Our hero walks up to the man lying on the ground and says he'll help him collect his money. His face swollen and bruised, the man lifts his head and asks who the boy is. Grinning as he speaks, the young man admits he works as a debt collector. Soon enough, they reach the debtor's door, and our hero strides right inside without so much as a knock. A large, tough debtor asks what will happen if he doesn't pay, threatening to handle it himself. But before he finishes speaking, a blade is pressed to his throat, and he freezes in terror. The debtor tells the boy that taking him out won't help him at all. So the young man drops his sword and reassures the other that he has no intention of chasing him. With a sly grin, he promised that his ghost would come to collect the money. The debtor is totally lost as a dark shadow begins to rise from the boy. With a sudden flash, the hero vanishes right before the debtor's eyes, who screams in sheer terror. The system screen pops up, showing his rating jump to D and earning him extra skill points. 7 days later, the DTR was sleeping soundly in his bed, totally free of worries. Out of nowhere, a strange red energy began to float around the sleeping man's body. Feeling something strange, the debtor wakes up in the middle of the night, rubs his eyes, and stays sleepy. Our hero's ghost pops out with a creepy grin and tells him it's time to pay up. Outside, the boy throws a party with bags of money, while the debtor cries out to his mother for help. 7 more days go by, and a woman tries to give medicine to a sick man lying in bed. Annoyed, the man angrily blows the bowl away and refuses to take his medicine, showing no care at all. Suddenly, our hero pops up and chugs the whole bowl, leaving the two of them wide-eyed and confused. He grinned and gave a thumbs up to show he really liked the drink. Right after that, the young man hit the floor dead, leaving the couple frozen in shock at what they'd just seen. The man jumps to his feet, shouting that the woman tried to kill him right when the boy's soul came back. An hour later, the same man walks down the street and hands our hero a bag full of cash. Tears of joy filled his eyes as he thanked him for saving his brother and proving he was innocent. The young man accepted the money with a promise to help, and 3 full months passed by. Under the warm glow of a sunny afternoon, a cup of tea sits quietly on the table, drinking in the peace. Now that our hero is rich and well-dressed because he can collect debts by letting people pass away, he realized that shielding others made his score go up, and soon he became the debate king. His body is feeling much stronger, but now he's facing a fresh worry about his power level. To get stronger, He needs to master better passes because this world is filled with terrifying villains. He believes that meeting strong people is the only path forward, even though his own body is far weaker than theirs. The young man, full of resolve, decides he must learn to fight his way to a new future. As he sits at the table, a stranger approaches in shock and asks if he is Kiyomu, the dead king. Standing before him was a beautiful woman with long hair, a blindfold covering her eyes, and a staff in her hand. The boy grinned goofily and told her his name, thinking she looked like a character from a video game, while she explained that her family had been wiped out by the Wuji Society and that she was the only one who managed to escape. She looks at the young man and asks if he can help her collect this blood debt. In return, she promises to teach him the mighty Kwa family's immortal fist. So distracted was the young man that he asked her name without thinking, leaving her confused when he guessed it was Ning. A little while later, in the middle of a crowded street, a person starts shouting loudly for the place's boss. Our hero stopped at a melon stand to playfully tease the vendor with some silly jokes. The big vendor, a bulky guy, asks if the kid is just there to cause trouble, and the young man nods to say yes. The butcher, fed up with the delay, snatches up his cleaver and threatens to turn the young man into mincemeat right then. With a dark smile, the young man shows that the butcher killed the Kia family, and that today he will finally pay. Then the young man charges forward with a brand new set of moves he just learned, but he can't match the giant man and gets struck hard on the head by his cleaver. The boy falls to the ground, leaving his soul floating out in front of everyone. Even after leaving, our hero kept smiling as if everything had gone exactly as planned. The butcher snaps at himself for losing his temper and screams at his men to keep the body there. The hero wakes up a short distance away, clutching his shoulder in terrible pain and grumbling about the wound. Even though it hurts to get sliced, he grins and says it's a lot of pain, but also a ton of fun. He rummages through his worn-out body for his wallet while nagging the system for extra perks. A screen flashes to show he has earned rating C and finished the beginner level of the fist. The young man finally understood that the game wanted him to spend his points to make his skill stronger. The system tells him he doesn't qualify to hand out the points, so it will just scatter them around by chance. He finds a new target to prove his skills and decides he must force the butcher to take him down. The wind howls loudly through the city streets as a fresh hunt is about to start. Inside the small shack, the butcher whispers to his master that he's brought out a kid from the Kyo family. He scribbles on a scroll that the whole family is gone and that anyone showing up is definitely suspicious. The man hopes someone might still be alive, but he knows the best guess is that every single one of them is gone. Suddenly, a noise grabs his attention, and he shouts, "Who's there?" while staring with a look of terror. Our hero steps onto the porch to find the butcher stunned, realizing the boy never left, and he introduces himself as Kia Jing, here to seek revenge for his brother Kiyomu, who was taken by the killer. He then surges forward, shouting for the man to see his legacy, ready to unleash his full power. As the butcher swings his cleaver to defend himself, our hero reaches out and grabs the sharp blade with his bare hands. The man mocks the young man, who hides his face in his hands and asks if he's scared, but the young man fires back immediately. Even though the pain was terrible, the boy didn't give up and challenged the butcher to finish the job right then and there. The man yells that they're both crazy and realizes his knife is stuck right in the young man's hand. Seeing his chance, the hero throws a hard punch right onto the butcher's chin. The man claims he's not like his brother and looks like he's really trained for this fight. With a bloody nose, the butcher admits he took it too far, but promises it won't happen again. 5 minutes later, our hero is knocked down hard and beaten up on the ground. The giant man pants hard, drained from the fierce battle he just survived. He thought the young man was truly brave for seeking revenge, even though he knew it could cost him his life. The butcher believes the situation has shifted, and now the letter will only puzzle his master. Suddenly, he gets caught off guard by a surprise attack that tears part of his house apart. But another brother steps forward to avenge his fallen sibling, and the butcher readies himself to take them all on. Just as a massive explosion tears the shack apart, a carrier pigeon takes flight and disappears into the distance. The man drops to his knees, beaten and bleeding, with no power left to keep going. Worn out, he grumbled that after taking the youngest out, the older one came right after, saying this never ends. Another brother steps forward, grabs him by the throat, and demands to know how many there are and if this cycle of revenge will ever stop. After failing 4 times in a row, he finds that his skill with his fist and his points are both getting lower. With just 1 second chance left, the young man knows getting his revenge will be a real fight. He knows the enemy is weak, so he decides it's the perfect moment to make his move. He recalls that even with just 20% of his skill, he was able to fight just as well as anyone else. The young man, driven by determination, vows to finish his mission and trade for new techniques with Shu. Lying there in defeat, he realized that each brother was far stronger than the last, with the final one nearly matching his own power. The tired butcher sits next to the young man's body in front of the Buddha statue. With a body bruised and battered, the man thinks the fight is finally over. To his shock, our hero pops back up, yelling, "Of course, it's not over," while the butcher hits the floor, too scared and weak to fight back. With eyes burning with light, our hero lunges forward to strike the final blow while screaming for justice from the heavens. Finally, the fight ends with the butcher defeated by our hero. After winning, he grabs the heavy bags of money the man was carrying as his reward. He picks up a letter and discovers that falling to a villain might just boost his score. He smiles as he decides to take the other letter to Shu in hopes of finding more value. Soon after, he calmly makes his way through the narrow alleys of Yin City to meet his client. When he reaches the house, he lifts his hat and tells Shu that the mission is finally over and he's home. The young man pushes the bedroom door open and steps inside to share everything that happened, but the woman, who sees right through things, immediately asks where he was while he was missing. She listens closely and realizes the boy's voice sounds nothing like what she remembered. She says his voice has grown up and sounds like an adult now, thanks to the energy boost. He tries to act like everything is normal, but the suspicious woman demands to see proof that he is who he says he is. Confused and unsure of what to do, the young man fumbles again, asking if her name is Ning. The story jumps back to show that for the whole last month, he was chasing her down just to ask her for random names. To prove who he is, the young man creeps up from behind and surprises her with a big hug. The young man grinned goofily, thinking they were finally close enough. Her hand slowly reaches out to his, while the boy feels a little scared by what is happening. Then, the woman smells his familiar scent and knows for sure that he really is standing right in front of her. She says her divine, "I can't be fooled," but the young man jokes about the sharing in. He then asks when she will teach him the second chapter of the fist, and, as promised, the young man insists that he feels he is almost ready for the force accumulation phase and wants to learn soon. When he refused to listen, she gently held his hand and urged him to come along for a checkup. She gently places his hand on her body to feel the bones and see just how much more he needs to train. She is shocked to see how hard and strong his muscles are, given how little time he has spent training. The woman jumps back in shock, asking what she just touched, but the young man just looks at her confused, not understanding her question at all. He claimed it was only his arm, and she was amazed that he made it happen in just 1 month. She tells the young man he's truly amazing, but warns him that there are no shortcuts to building real strength. The young man happily accepts her praise and asks her to show him the next part of his training right away. He's convinced the Immortality Fist is the perfect path for his growth, so he's training it every moment he can. The young man, determined to make his mark, turns into an adorable kitten and declares that this is his journey to greatness. She orders him to finish his training, but the boy reveals he has already taken down the butcher. The woman was so shocked by the tea she spat it out and screamed. Was that even possible? He shows her the secret letter he found on the man's body, but he can't make out what the writing says. She grabs the letter and discovers it holds a secret code from the Wuji Society, leaving her completely shocked by the unexpected surprise. True to her word, she agrees to show him the next move in the art of the Immortality Fist. She starts chanting ancient words and sharing her wisdom to guide the young man in his meditation. Half an hour later, the screen flashed to reveal his fist had finally reached expert level. He quickly realizes the system hands out rewards too fast, so he decides he needs a much stronger villain to make them worth the wait. She slides the book across the table and whispers that it holds the key to cracking the code hidden in the letter. The young man thinks it's weird that she found the book even though she's blind, and starts to wonder if she's pretending. He then uses the book to match the symbols and try to understand what the letters say. After some time, he finally figures out the message and learns that the emperor is soon to leave the capital. The Wuji Society is calling its members to a secret mission to kill the Emperor of Yin. He wants to know when and where the attack will happen, but the woman shakes her head and says the code isn't finished yet. She believes their society is bold enough that, if they stand together, they have a real shot at making it happen. The young man wonders if the Wuji is truly that powerful, but the woman hints that she hasn't shared all the truth with him yet. Their boss is Martial Saint, the second best fighter to ever live right now. He started the Wuji Society and tore apart many families just to steal their fighting skills. Even though the Kyo family had a super special trick, the bad guy still managed to catch them. She told him she didn't teach him the fist to defeat Martial Saint, but to make himself stronger. She admits that her real goal is for him to help her take revenge. Our hero stays quiet for a beat, letting all the words he just heard sink in. With a confident smile, He shares his idea that he might be able to slip into their world. The woman calls him crazy and tells him that's just another way of saying he wants to join them. The young man pounds his hand down hard on the table, proving he's ready to see his plan through. He says he'll join the group as a killer to attack the emperor and spark a fight, but if he can't get inside, he'll keep fighting the members to figure out their secret plan. The woman shakes her head and calls the plan crazy, but the young man sees it as his ticket to becoming the emperor's deadly killer. He believes the society members have a huge stash of fighting moves. The young man insists that taking revenge is nearly impossible and that he'll end up creating more trouble than he can handle. The woman warns him he'll die if he tries that, but he just doesn't care. He stares ahead with a serious face, asks what the problem is with just dying, and tries to hold in a laugh. The woman stops talking for a moment, caught off guard by the boy's bold answer. She sees he is full of emotion and starts to wonder what she can give him back. The young man suddenly steps right up to her, making the woman blush and think he's interested. He asks what she's thinking, but the shy woman just stares, unable to find the words. She tells him she can't repay his kindness, and he asks if there is anything she can do in return. He says that since she brought it up, there's something only she can do to help him. Curious, the woman asks what it is and what he needs her to do right now. The young man held out a red book, grinning as he whispered that his true wish was a secret. The woman looks puzzled by a strange answer and can't figure out what he's up to. She decides to trust him and let him try, knowing he has nothing to lose if he fails. Feeling content, the young man asks if she knows any other Wuji members nearby. She lets it slip that the ruler of Yanqing City, Go Yayan, is actually one of the society's own members. While we look away, a man is being beaten with a whip right there on the street with no mercy. Another man gets hit by the whip as he tries to block the attack. A young master from the Go family shows up, and everyone pleads for him to let them live. A servant shouts that the young master Go is coming through and orders everyone to move aside. The young master glanced around the crowd until his eyes locked onto one person right in the middle. He smiles and tells his men to bring in the beautiful maiden he just saw. A man and a woman stand ready to battle, declaring they'd rather die than obey his demands. She grips her sword tight, ready to fight for both herself and her friend. Muscular guards circle the couple and tell them their young master wants to speak with them. The woman realized that the pretty girl he had been talking about was actually her friend. The man feels embarrassed as the woman steps up to teach the playboy a lesson. The young master grins with a dangerous look and readies himself for the fight ahead. Fuming with anger, he commands his men to punish the cheeky woman who dared to stand up to him. As the guards rush in, the woman readies herself to fight them all at once, weaving out of their blows while wondering what strange trick they are using. From the rooftop, our hero watches the scene with a smile on his face. Before anyone could react, he leaps down right into the chaos, knocks the young master out, and snatches him away, leaving everyone stunned. The scared young man begs the boy to let him go, claiming his father rules Yanqing City. Our hero just shouts back with a carefree, "So what?" and remains completely unfazed. The young master claims his father is coming, and he's sure his dad will be glad to see him gone once he gets here. The protagonist jumps for joy at the news, seeing it as a huge chance for him. He believes that getting beaten up by the city lord himself will boost his death rating. A screen suddenly appeared, showing that his heroism rating might soon go up. He realizes the system agrees with his idea and feels confident to move forward with a wicked smile on his face, ready to put his plan into action. The man thanks the hero for his help, but urgently tells him to run away before the danger gets him. Our hero throws the warning aside and keeps holding the young master tight. The woman is so puzzled by the hero's strange behavior that she can't figure out what he's trying to do. He warns that moving anyone will cost the hostage's life, while the young master begs for mercy. The young man grows angry at the hostage's easy surrender and pushes him even harder. He shouts at the young master, begging him not to give up and to bring his father to the scene right away. The crack of hooves on the dirt tells us the young master's new friends are finally here. Suddenly, a huge man riding a horse shows up, shocking everyone. The young master yells for his father, and our hero sees that Gon looks mighty strong. Frustrated by the racket, our hero snaps at the hostage to quiet down immediately. He feels the crushing weight of Gaian's presence and senses the power of his great leadership. The city lord remarked that the boy possessed amazing strength, even without that special inner power. In a flash, he jumps off his horse and readies himself to strike the kidnapper. He dashes forward, a purple glow wrapping around him as he gets ready to fight. Our hero watches his opponent move, getting ready for the fight. The purple energy grows stronger and squeezes him until he feels like he's being crushed from the inside out. The pressure gets so heavy that he struggles to breathe and begs to stop. The city lord halts his charge, standing still to stare at the young man with a serious look. The city lord is blown away by the young man's bravery in speaking up right under his nose. He tells the young man not to act rashly and promises that talking will fix things. Our hero is baffled by the apology and can't figure out how to make him fight like this. He notices the passing grade hasn't gone down, so he knows he still has a chance to get it. The couple is furious at the apology, so Guyan offers to pay them in silver to make things right. They soon realize they are deep in his territory and can't stand a chance against the city lord. The woman apologizes for her husband's mistakes and tries to calm everyone down. Some folks in the crowd whisper that it's wiser to steer clear of the young master to avoid trouble. Frustrated, our hero yells out Guyan's name to snap him out of it. He wonders if paying a small fine and saying sorry is all the city lord needs to make everything okay. The young man counted up all the young master's mistakes and declared that he was used to fixing the mess his boss made. He stares hard and tells the young master that his life is the price he must pay. Goen sees that the boy won't back down to threats, and things are getting messy. He asks what the young man wants and tries to make a deal to let his son go peacefully. Our hero claims that freeing the hostage is a simple task. All he needs is what he wants. Grinning with a wicked charm, he vows that not even his own passing would make him let the young master go. He then flings the hostage away with all his might, catching everyone there off guard. The couple couldn't believe their eyes when a stranger threw his own life away just to keep them safe. The city lord declares that there is nothing left to talk about and readies himself for battle. He rushes forward at full speed to strike the hero, who is ready to face the final battle. Our hero stares forward with pure determination, readying himself to face the city lord's last blow. Goen charges forward, slashing with his sword at lightning speed straight at our hero. The young master was launched into the air and slammed down onto the ground. Our hero gets grabbed by a big old man and frozen in place with no way to get free. He throws a party to celebrate, earning his first top rating after the system approved it. The city lord steps up and demands to know the name of the boy who dared to challenge him. He steps forward, tells the city lord his name is Kiyomu, and dares him to try and take him down if he's brave enough. Goyen felt the young man's courage and gave him a nod of respect. To everyone's shock, the city lord commands the old man to let the boy go. He cheers on Kiyomu's bravery and invites him to join the army guarding his palace. Our hero sobbed in despair because his plan fell apart and the story didn't go his way. The young master walks up to his father and tells him how badly he was made to feel. Guyan loses his patience and slaps his son, scolding him for his behavior. He commands his guards to take the young master home, where he will face a harsh punishment. Gon grips the reins of his horse and, once the matter is settled, tells Kiyomu that if he chooses, he can go to the palace whenever he likes. Our hero freezes in fear, completely lost by the sudden twist of events. People whisper that the city lord plays fair and that the hero got lucky. Suddenly, a giant beaver pops up to grumble about the mess and how the city lord never got rid of him. The system's passing rating drops back to Clough, and our hero laments the failure of his plan. He sees the longevity talisman glowing brighter while his passing rating keeps climbing higher and higher. The young man suddenly gets a brilliant idea. If he lets go now, he can still earn a top score. The folks he helped started thanking him with bows and gifts. The couple he protected bowed down with thanks for his courage and the help he gave when they least expected it. He knows the world now sees him as a hero instead of just an unknown soldier. He suddenly understands that the system is just a trap designed to make him famous by forcing him to be brave. He realizes that if he keeps trying to act like a hero, he will get stronger and more famous. And when he finally passes on, his rating will be glorious and high quality within the system. The couple looked puzzled by the young man's sudden mood shift as he broke into a happy song. Far away, the young master groans in pain as his face gets squeezed hard. He wonders why his father didn't punish the villain, but instead wants to hire him to join the army. Gon tells his son not to worry and to take his time. He points out that everyone's anger was clear, and dragging him out would only hurt his reputation. By bringing him on board, he soothes the angry crowd and earns a name for being kind. The father punishes his defiant boy by locking him inside the palace for a month, forbidding him from stepping outside. Golan warns that the emperor might come to this land and tries to keep his son out of any trouble that could get him killed. The young master bursts with excitement over the news of the emperor's visit, but then he starts to wonder if it's really true. His dad whispered that the emperor's whereabouts were a secret kept to protect him from assassins. The son asks if King Mu will say yes to helping defend the city. Goyen shrugs, saying it doesn't matter if he accepts or not, since he has other ways to handle him. Goyen starts thinking about sending the mountain bandits to fight the young man and get him out of the way. On the rooftop, she asks him why he still wants to join the city guard. The young man warns that it's probably a trap, but he's heading to the palace regardless. The woman sees how the young man is willing to risk his own life for what he believes in. She chooses to show him a special move that will help him survive his perilous path. She reveals that this is a hidden Kia family fighting style that gives them sudden bursts of strength. The book of dark power is finally shown, and the young man clutches it tightly with eyes wide with wonder. His eyes sparkle with excitement at the thought of such an incredible power, but she warns him that he must first build up his own strength before he can use it for the rest of his life. She tells him that his brave heart will make him move ahead faster than everyone else. She smiles softly, delighted to see the young man's eager desire to learn and become stronger. She handed him the technique, praying it would give him a chance to live. The young man gives a confident smile, says he's ready, and is prepared for whatever challenge comes next. He squeezes the book with a silly grin as the woman sighs at his excitement. At the city guard's training grounds, our hero gets ready for what's next. He grips his spear tight and steps into place, ready to start his life as a guard. With a sudden burst of speed, he dashes forward, spear in hand, proving he is an expert with the weapon. He believes the spearmen are always cursed, but he secretly prays that his own path will be different. Some guards chat about Kia Mu, noting he looks ordinary but holds incredible strength. The crowd mocks the young soldier, laughing and saying he won't survive a day on the battlefield. He picked up a new trick, but he hasn't found his way to the next stage of life yet. When someone calls him Chief, he turns around to see who is talking to him right then. A man walks up and asks if he'd like to buy some Marshall amps he has for sale. While the other guards laugh at his yellow teeth, the seller just ignores their teasing. The seller shows him a way to toughen his body, and the young man is eager to get that protection. The bearded monk tells our hero to ask Old Huang about the technique first before spending any money. The seller's big grin shows he holds the secret of the iron shield. The picture shows this special move guarding your back. Our protagonist insists he needs the technique and warns that guarding that spot is absolutely vital. The man hands over the technique as a gift, telling him that his wife was once hurt by the young master. He moves in close and quietly shares the sad tale of how his family suffered at the hands of cruel people. The seller says his wife is still weak but alive, and that the young man got revenge for him. Our hero shakes off the thanks, promising to pay him back with a reward later for the help he just gave. Another guard runs up to tell him that Captain Chu wants to talk right now. He grins as he readies himself for the next test on his path to becoming stronger. In the military camp, number 110 stands out from the rest with flags and drums all around it. Captain Chu tells the tale of a fierce bandit named Song who hides in the eastern mountains. He points to a spot on the map where the bandit, who has crowned himself king, rules that land. The captain can't help but glare at the bandit, thinking that bold move was just a terrible joke. Our hero leans in to study the map and the flag of the king, who calls himself the ruler. The captain shouts in rage that Songi has stolen from hundreds of people in just 6 months and remembers the women the bandits hurt. Our hero, seething with rage, demands that those bandits be taken out right now. The captain nods and promises to send out 1,000 soldiers to take on the mission. He tells the brave young man he has his courage and asks him to lead the first group on the mission. Our hero clasps his hands tight with determination, ready for the challenge waiting ahead. He lets out a battle cry and jumps into the mission without even a second's pause. He steps slowly through the camp, his mind heavy with the weight of the duty he has just accepted. He thinks back to the honor of leading 1,000 soldiers into battle. The young man smiles, knowing the city lord has finally used his excuse to make his move. He smiles with determination and decides to turn his leaving into something useful. A shadow crouches outside the tent, keeping a close eye on everything happening inside. The captain can't decide if the young man is just too trusting or if he's so sure of himself that he'll take on the job no matter what. 5 days later, our hero looks out at the eastern mountain, sharp and ready for his next big adventure. Soldier Huang steps up to show the way, claiming he knows every hiding spot of the thieves in this place. The young man nods and says, "If anything dangerous comes, hide right behind me." Moved, the guide told me the chief is the kindest man he has ever met in his life. The protagonist shouts that it's all right because he can't let him ruin his chance to pass. Tucked away in the tall grass, a sharp blade waits quietly for its next victim. The guide chats lightly and asks the young man how he was back when he was 15. He says the butcher Jung took him out, tells the man to be quiet, and points the way forward. Suddenly, something zipped past them through the tall grass, giving the guide a tiny jump. Right after that, a storm of arrows flies straight for them, and the man freezes in fear. To save the guide, our hero lunges forward and kicks him hard, sweeping him out of the way just as the arrows fly. The boy steps right in front to take the hit while the other guy lands safely on the ground. With a grin, he thrusts his spear to push back the flying arrows. As he gets hit, he yells that the TV shows were lying to him, and a soldier shouts his name in shock. Not long after, a group of masked bandits burst from the grass to attack the man lying on the ground. Despite the arrows sticking out of him, the hero still moves fast enough to shield the other man from getting hurt. He feels thrilled as the immortality lock glows, knowing his death will be a grand one. With his spear shining brightly, he yells for the other soldiers to follow him as he charges forward to lead the way. Then the young man dashes forward with a grin, fully ready for the fight ahead. With a quick twist, he jumps in to shield his friend from an unexpected attack. A soldier screams in pain just as an enemy catches him off guard. The bandit didn't hesitate, driving his blade straight through his own soldier to strike the target. A punch hits the man right in the face, and he has no time to dodge it. Our hero grins and rushes in to knock out a bunch of enemies all at once. The other soldiers are amazed by how fierce the young man fights in battle. Even as a second arrow strikes him, he mocks the foes, daring them to show what else they have. Soon after, he asks for medicine to stop the bleeding from his shoulder. The guide thanks him for stopping the arrows, and the young man gets really mad. He grumbles that the thieves were too weak and says he'll have to try harder next time. The monk scolds him for thinking this is how he can ever repay the guide's kindness. He smiled and asked the monk if he had anything left to give. The monk offers a gift and asks him to take down the thieves first. He looks out over the valley and sees it is filled with traps and waiting ambushes. The young man turned to his guide and asked if that valley had a name. Carve into the bark of a tree nearby. Strange symbols mark the wood. He calls the spot Fallen Tree Valley and starts thinking about where he'd rather not step foot again. The captain steps up and asks the young man why he isn't leading the way at the front. The captain calls him a coward, but still orders him to fight in the battle. He believes that if the boy disobeys, he can knock him out and finish the Lord's mission. To the captain's surprise, the young man agrees to follow orders and steps forward to move ahead. The young man gives a cynical smile, thanks the captain, and decides this is the better way to go. He grins with pure evil and vows to tear the captain apart the moment he grows strong enough. Soon after, his smile fades and his face turns very serious. Suddenly, a whole gang of bandits bursts out and rushes the soldiers to attack them. He screams at his friends to run because there are too many thieves for them to stand a chance against. Scared out of their wits, the soldiers turn tail and run from the battlefield without even pausing to think. Meanwhile, our hero stays behind to fight the bandits all by himself so his friend can stay safe. He screams at the soldiers to run, telling them it is a direct order from their chief. The guide and the monk are puzzled by the boy's moves, yet they keep watching the brawl unfold. Perched on the cliff's edge, the captain keeps a sharp eye on the battle and shouts orders for the soldiers to hold their ground instead of running away. He warns that anyone who won't fight will be killed right then. The young man realizes the captain wants them all to die there together. Taking their leader's words to heart, the soldiers turn back and stand shoulder to shoulder, fighting right to the very last moment. The fight breaks out again as swords hammer hard against the soldier's armor. Our hero grabs a bandit and warns him to stay out of his way. The guide insists he won't leave the chief to face that fierce battle all by himself. Feeling angry, the young man shouts at them to quit their nonsense or risk getting hurt. He dashes forward all by himself to fight the enemies while his guide screams his name in desperation. Knocked down but ready to fight, he vows to do what others can't and speak the truth when others are too scared. Right after that, an arrow hits him square in the neck and he falls away again. Even though enemies surround him while he lies on the ground, our hero looks completely calm and shows no sign of worry. One bandit lunges forward with his axe to land the final blow and end the fight. Smiling, he offers to go first as the immortal stone begins to glow. Before long, the rest of the bandits rush forward to strike the young man all at once. He thrusts his spear with all his strength right into a weak spot on an enemy. He then shouts at the bandits to stop acting like cowards and come fight him for real. With a wave of his hand, he invites the enemies to fight while mocking them even more. The young man shouts for tougher tests to face as he keeps fighting without stopping. Suddenly, he feels a brand new surge of power waking up inside him right in the middle of the fight. This new strength is waking up inside him, making him get stronger and more powerful every time he fights. With one powerful strike, he sends several enemies flying, his eyes glowing red to show how much stronger he has become. From afar, the captain is shocked to see the boy glowing with a strange power. He figures that a young warrior who can wake up his aura must be incredibly talented. The captain stared at the young man's surprising strength and couldn't stop wondering how he had become so powerful. Spotting the red glow, he realizes the young man is wielding a fiery fighting style. With a smile, He realizes the young man has unleashed a deadly move with no escape, and his end is near. He knows the boy won't make it, and that means his plan has finally worked. While the guide screams in despair, he watches his leader fight on for their sake. Our hero's spear drops and gets stuck in the dirt right in front of the soldiers. He lets out a deafening roar, shoving everyone out of his path with a powerful shockwave. Even though he's been beaten up, the young man still stands tall while his friends are shocked. With his face scarred, he vows that no one will ever cross that line again while he breathes. Seeing he was all by himself, one of the bandits shouted for everyone to charge forward without a second thought. So the horde charges at our hero for the final showdown. Even when things went wrong, our hero kept a smile on his face. A deadly blade from Sai swings toward us, but our hero thrusts his spear forward to block it right at the last second. He fights on with courage, using his spear to strike down multiple foes at once. The boy takes several hits to his body, yet his eyes shine with power, and he refuses to stop. As he watched, his comrades wept with a mix of sadness and rage over the chief's sacrifice. Arrows rain down on the young man, but he ignores the pain and keeps fighting with all his courage. A hand snatches the leaf soaked in blood as it drops, showing that the hero has finally fallen. The hero stands tall on a pile of bodies, staring down his friends with a look of victory. Despite the arrows piercing his body, he stands as solid and unbreakable as a statue of a great hero. Soon after, he looked up to see the captain watching from high up on the cliff. The captain lets out a sneer, acting like he's already won the fight. Filled with new hope, the soldiers yelled that they wouldn't let their leader down and raced straight into the fight. The captain steps up to the fray, sword in hand, ready to fight. The horse kicks and stomps over the fallen bandits with no pity at all. The captain pauses beside the fallen hero and smiles, while the young man lets out a quiet, faint laugh. The captain gazes into the young man's soul and declares that the mission is done and they are heading back to the city, but the guide argues against it because they haven't destroyed the bandits' base yet. The captain claims the ground is too risky and shouts for everyone to turn back right now. The soldiers choose to carry the chief's body so they can tell his blind sister what happened. While his friends keep watch over his fading form, our hero is waking up in a new place. With a fresh look and a wiser spirit, the young man rises to life again, gripping his spear tightly. The screen glowed with his B rating and the shiny rewards he had just won. He was stunned to find that passing just one Class B level skyrocketed his mastery of the technique. Getting a Class B license is like spending 20 years training with 150% extra effort. Now the young man practices with his spear, picturing himself leading a group of travelers through the world. Now that he has learned this new move, he trains with his spear until every swing hits its mark perfectly. His aim is so sharp he can halt his spear mere millimeters from an ant. He smiled, realizing that passing with high marks opens up a world of extra perks. The captain shivers with cold as the young man promises to thank his brother for the ride. Meanwhile, the soldiers march back to the city, carrying their leader's body. They stumble upon the tree bearing the young man's words, leaving the captain completely baffled. The soldiers soon figured out that the chief was the one who left their message at the site. The monk wept as he claimed the chief knew the ambush was coming, but had no choice but to follow orders. The guide also breaks down in tears, claiming their leader threw himself away to save all of them on that mission. Right then, an irked captain strides up and demands to know what we are hauling. The soldiers drop to their knees just as the captain walks toward them with a look of deep worry on his face. The guide tells us they are carrying Chief Kiyoma's body to his funeral. The captain whispers the boy's name to himself, his face deep in thought. The guide glares in anger, wondering if the jerk will stop them from taking the body, but the captain insists that Kia Mu earned their honor and must not be left behind. The grumpy guide blames the captain for everything, but he promises to handle the funeral himself. The man believed all the praise was meant for him, yet he thanked the young man who had acted without thinking. He is convinced that once his task is done, the Lord will even reward him with a promotion. He grinned with a cruel twist, thinking about the young man's blind and helpless sister. He then leans in and whispers that she need not worry, for he promises to look after her with all his heart. Suddenly, the captain was caught off guard and blood began pouring from his mouth. He is suddenly stabbed in the back by a spear thrown by everyone at once. The man drops dead from his horse, just as a soldier cries out in pain from the attack. He lies on the ground and reaches out, only to see a mysterious shadow standing atop the cliff above him. Everyone was shocked when our hero stood up from the ashes, looking completely different. The captain's eyes widen with horror when he finally sees who his attacker really is. And so, our hero finally takes his revenge, putting Lieutenant Shu out of his misery. A soldier screams in terror, warning everyone that a new attack is coming. Confused, they ask who the enemy is, and the guide points to the shadow on the mountain. Then the soldier lifts the cloth to show the face he was carrying, and it's not the chief. The guide and the monk chat, then suddenly realize the thieves are waiting to spring their trap. A soldier screams that the thieves are back and they are strong. Just as someone calls for a retreat, another soldier is struck down by a deadly spear. Our hero watches from afar with a grin, realizing that by outsmarting the lieutenant, he has finally surpassed Class 8. The demonic explosion technique fits his fighting style just right. His heart pounds with a terrifying thrill as the soldiers close in to hunt the assassin, leaving him wondering if he'll be the one caught in the crossfire. Suddenly, he hears someone shout that the thieves are back, which shocks him. The young man, feeling angry that the soldiers are running away and messing up his plan, starts to complain loudly. He suddenly realizes the shouting voice belongs to the guides, leaving him in a state of total confusion. Angro grumbles that he gave his life for everyone, yet the guide won't let him rest in peace. Smiling with confidence, he believes his plan can still move forward. Peering at the bushes, he spots the sneaky thieves hiding there and thinks it's perfect. He stands his ground against the bandits, declaring he won't back down and daring them to make their move. The young man hits his dead foe, letting the thieves remember him from the fight. The bandits flee in fear, shouting that he's a ghost, while he stays behind to check on their wounds. He steps forward as Kiyamu's brother, declaring that he has arrived to seek revenge for his death. Confused, the young man corrects himself and vows to avenge his brother, who has been taken by them. One thief warns the others not to listen, claiming the voice belongs to a ghost trying to lead them astray. The bandits run away in panic and beg the ghost to let them go. All of a sudden, the bandits run into their gang, and one of them is shocked to see them. The leader of the thieves steps forward wrapped in a scary red glow that makes everyone freeze in fear. A group of desperate bandits sprinted up to him, begging for help because a ghost was chasing them. Our hero spots the king of thieves and gets super excited for the big show about to start. He grins wickedly and shouts that he's here to avenge his brother, Sony. Suddenly, the thieves' leader pops right in front of our hero. The young man struggles to keep up with the fast-moving action and feels shocked by how quick everything is. He steps up to the man and demands to know if he is the king of thieves. The man sneers and calls him a warrior, but then his hood slips down to show a young face that is nothing like the one he expected to see. Wang Song-hai steps forward and shares his name, leaving our hero stunned by what he sees. A drop of sweat trickled down the young man's face as he stood frozen, unable to find the words to speak. The boss of the thieves throws his head back in a loud laugh, clearly having a great time with the whole mess. Suddenly, he spits out blood, and the young boy realizes he's actually weak and just putting on a show. One bandit told the chief that the young man took down the lieutenant and claimed they were brothers. The thief leader leans in, his dark eyes locked on the young man as he listens closely to the tale. He gives a shout-out to Chief Kiyo's bravery and says he really looks up to him for it. He invites him to team up and build something amazing together. The young man nods and steps in with a band of thieves from the Eastern Mountain. Our hero is lost in thought, unsure if he should bring this stranger into their fight. The head of the thieves admits that with so much fighting, it's hard to tell what is right from what is wrong. The young man nodded his head and said he was totally right. Just as the glowing leader was about to speak, our angry hero tackled him and knocked him out cold. He roars that a true warrior never takes what isn't his and refuses to hide away in the mountains. Meanwhile, the bandit leader and his gang strolled right through the woods with no sign of panic. His men grumble about the young man's rude behavior and warn that he's asking to get beaten. Then our hero steps up to the chief and dares him to attack if he's truly mad. The man shouts for everyone to stop the act and waves his hand to show them what to do. Then he asks why so many thieves have ended up in his lands and challenges him. The young man explained that the governors were like tigers, which is why everyone ran up to the mountain for safety. The leader nods and echoes the words about the governors being fierce tigers. He admires the young man's wisdom and declares that the mountain is a safe haven for all. Gripping his sword, he introduces himself once more and vows to guard the mountain. He offers the young man a chance to stand beside him and fight for a better life for everyone. The young man freezes, muscles tight with fear, as the leader of the thieves holds his sword right up to the boy's chest. Our hero, with a fierce and steady gaze, flat out turns down the leader's offer. The two lock eyes while the chief invites him to visit their base and see what they are up to. The young man takes the offer because he knows if he says no again, he won't leave that place alive. He grins with excitement at the thought of passing one more time to level up. 15 minutes later, they reach a huge base tucked right in the middle of the mountain. The young man glances around and remarks that the spot feels more like a quiet village than a thieves' hideout. He is so surprised to see old people and kids strolling so calmly around that he can't help but ask why. The leader tells us that every person in the village was once homeless until he found them and brought them here. He says the city's wealth has faded, and many were forced to leave by the Lord. The young man presses the leader for more about the divines, but the leader turns the question right back on him. The young man made a funny face, shocked that the leader knew his immortality fist. The man laughs and says this trick is all his own, and not just the martial arts group who knows about it. With a warm smile, he gestures for the young man to follow him away for a private chat. They step into a wooden building and walk toward a quiet room away from the others. Inside, a huge statue of a bearded man catches our hero's eye. The leader tells us that what looks like a statue is actually a person who trained so hard he became like a god. The young man feels he threw away his time learning to fight instead of gaining wisdom. The thief's boss finally tells us that gods and people are actually the same race, but the gods won't admit it. They hire humans to grow holy plants, but they never truly bless them. It's the biggest twist that people spend their whole lives serving the gods without even knowing they're doing it. Our hero gets so mad at how people are being taken advantage of that he suddenly remembers the greedy way his world runs. He figures that the only way to earn a higher score is to dare the gods, and suddenly his heart races with thrill. Suddenly, a spear flew through the air and slammed into the temple floor with a loud thud. Our hero leaps into the air, ready to strike the statue of the god. He screams in anger, declaring that he was born free and no one will ever stand above him. With a cruel grin, he dares the statue to strike him with lightning. The leader reaches out to stop him, but the young man ignores the warning and charges straight at the statue to smash it down. Our hero grins with confidence as he readies himself for the final strike against the statue. The thief leader screams at him to stop, but it's already too late to do anything. He swings his arm hard and smashes right into the statue's chest with all his strength. The man feels relieved, but right after, the statue's sword breaks apart from the hit. The whole statue begins to crack, and the leader watches in worry. Soon after, the statue shatters into 1,000 pieces, and the leader coughs up blood from the shock. Furious, the young man grumbled that the cursed thief had no right to block his way. He asks the leader why he used a sage technique to stop him from meeting his end. The man warns that smashing the statue will bring the ancient sage's terrible revenge down on his head. The young man jumps at the news and demands to be struck by lightning immediately. The leader trembles at the young man's wildness and promises to walk more carefully. The young man pauses, thinking to himself that he has never mastered a powerful secret skill. The chief explains that martial arts toughen the body, while sage skills calm the soul. He claims that sages wield power through strength and endless life, while martial artists do not. If you speed up your path to mastering martial arts and gather enough masters, you will stand a better chance of winning. The calm young man quietly tries to soothe the leader, who is still furious from their argument. He finally sees that holding the immortal fist is the only way to become a god. The young man declared he would soon become a god, leaving the leader stunned and baffled. With his long nose, he asks the leader if he thinks he has what it takes to be a god. The man says that without a soul route, he can never become a sage. Our hero ducks behind a pillar and stares at the leader, looking totally confused. He leans in close to whisper, wondering if learning the iron crotch move is the true path to gaining a soul. Suddenly, a warm golden light wraps around the young man and the thief leader, leaving them both staring in shock. The man feels embarrassed and apologizes, admitting he can't help with that tool. He tries to say goodbye, but our hero asks why he wants to join the fight. The young man told the leader he wants to change the whole world and that our little village is not the place for him. With a gleam in his eye, he warns that he will spill the secret of the base's location unless they let him go with them. The man bursts out laughing, insists he wouldn't do that, and warns that they've already pushed the soldiers too far, so they're moving now. Our hero waves a final goodbye, promising to leave this matter behind and never bother anyone with it again. He sighs, accepts his defeat, and heads back to the city to fix things up there. In the pitch-black room, the blindfolded woman slowly pushes the door open. A man claims he is a Lord's guard who has come to offer thanks. Two people walked into the room carrying a coffin, which left the woman feeling puzzled. The blind woman lies down and wonders why Kiamud hasn't come back with them. The guard stares hard and says the boy's name in a voice that feels cold and far away. He grins with a wicked look and tells the young man he's gone and won't be coming home. The woman is so shocked she asks what he means by gone and what happened. With a quick hand movement, the man snatches up a book and gets ready for the next part of his plan. The man grins wickedly and shouts that the young man has passed on. She steps back and shakes her head, insisting that it can't be true. She insists that Kyu won't let them pass as easily as he claims. Just as she was about to shut the door, a hand shot out and held it open tight. The man apologizes and admits he forgot to mention that he brought the body with him. He gently holds her hand and leads her toward the coffin. He pushes her toward the coffin and asks her to tell him if it is really him. The woman is made to touch the cold face inside the coffin, and her heart stops when she sees what's left. The man laughs at her and insists he won't describe the scene, claiming she can't see it anyway. His body bore more than 50 cuts, and his face was swollen with bruises. She gently touches the body, realizes it isn't her brother, and quickly pulls her hand away. She screams that it can't be true and that it's all just a huge lie. He tells her that everything is fake, even his own words. He smiled and asked if she'd feel better if he said it was a lie. Outside, the monk snaps and shouts that they've gone too far with the woman. Furious, he vows to take out the jerk, but the guide stops him from moving forward. The guide shakes his head, saying there's nothing they can do because the boy is the city lord's own son. They chose to bury the chief and left some money for his sister. The man sneers at the woman for refusing to cry and taunts her with cruel words until she is pushed even further. With a grin, he promises her something else and gets ready for the next part. He smiles darkly and hands the woman a pot of stew made from the great warrior's liver. The woman screams with pure anger and disgust at the man's cruel behavior. Frustrated, he commands his men to shove the soup down her throat anyway, leaving her surrounded by them with the bowl forced into her hands. All eyes turned as an elderly man's staff hit the ground. The men grab the woman and get ready to shove the liquid down her throat. He grins with a wicked look, pours the soup right in her mouth, and orders her to drink it all. One of the soldiers breaks down in angry tears, feeling completely powerless to stop what he's witnessing. Just then, the guide showed up and gulped down the whole bowl of soup, claiming it tasted amazing. The young master explodes in rage, shouting that the thief is trash for daring to steal his food. He kicks the bowl, sending the soup spilling all over the floor. The guide apologizes and explains that his friend is a bit strange and doesn't know what he's doing. The young master glares with a grim look, his anger burning bright as he stares down the soldier. The guide starts feeling terrible and vomits up all the soup he had just eaten. All of a sudden, a strange voice praised the smell of the soup and made everyone stop what they were doing to listen. The young master spins around in a huff and demands to know who that intruder is. To everyone's shock, our hero suddenly shows up again, this time wearing a hat and carrying a spear. The guide screams the chief's name, overwhelmed with joy at seeing him safe and sound. The woman is so shocked to hear the young man's name that she can't believe what she's hearing. The old man freezes at the young man's sudden appearance, his face turning serious as he stares hard. The young master stands frozen in shock, screaming that it is impossible for the young man to still be alive. He stares into the coffin and sees the body of the soldier who once tricked everyone. The body inside the coffin was torn up and looked just like our hero's. With a hearty laugh, our hero tips his hat and looks at the young master with a warm smile. He dashes forward in a flash and thrusts his spear hard at the young master. The young master froze in terror, his eyes wide as he watched the young man strike with blinding speed. He barely sidesteps the spear, but the hard hit still sends a shockwave through him. The soldiers and the blindfolded woman stand frozen in shock as they take in the scene before them. A guard holds the woman in place while she watches the fight with wide-eyed attention and curiosity. The young master struggles to block the incoming strikes, but our hero lands a heavy series of blows that push him back. With a cut on his hand, he doesn't back down and fights back harder. The young master freezes in fear, staring at our hero's gaze that looks like a demon's. The soldiers whispered that maybe he wasn't the real chief because he seemed far too strong. The old man looks the young man up and down, asking who he really is before shaking his head and saying his aura isn't nearly as powerful as it seems. He stares hard at the young man and tells him his name is Kalen, adding that he's his own brother. Tears streaming down his face, he declares that Kiamu is his brother and that he has come seeking revenge. With his eyes burning red, he readies himself for the final strike against the young master. With a red glow around him, he vows to drag everyone down with him, even if it means he dies right there. The old man steps up to challenge him, glaring with a mix of anger and disbelief and demanding to know who he thinks he is to speak such words. The young master yells at the old man to run, promising to return and deal with everything later. The young master tries to run away, but the soldiers catch him and hold him tight. The old man mumbles to himself while our hero readies his next move. With his hand hurt, the young man knows he must get ready to try again. He says he'll bury his brother in the mountain outside the city tomorrow. The old man caught the hint and knew the young man would be leaving town the next day. Our hero complains he is starving, leaving the soldiers stunned by his boldness. He grabs the pot of soup and starts drinking it without a second thought, while the soldiers scream at him to stop because the soup belongs to his brother. With a mouth stuffed full, he scrunches his face in disgust while the guide throws up a rainbow. The young man held up a piece of liver and explained that it came from a pig, not from his brother. He faked a sobbing breakdown, claiming his brother had died in a terrible accident and his body was missing parts. She touches him, and he hides behind her, saying he is fine. The young man jumps at her scent, realizing she's standing right next to him. He screams in shame while the woman looks around, completely puzzled by the sudden outburst. Suddenly, the young master screams that Kia Musu's ghost has appeared in the Ghoul clan. The Lord steps out to see what the noise is about and asks what new thing he has learned this time. The old man apologized, saying he and the others were just paying their respects to the Kyo family. He points out that the young man is a bit taller and older than the brother who has passed away. The Lord says he's just a regular 8th grader right now and isn't a big danger to them yet. He realizes the young man is far more complex than he thought and knows he must figure this out right away. The Lord's face went dark as he commanded the old man to look after the young guy and his friends. Our hero yawns as the blindfolded woman walks up to him, her face set in a serious look. He stares at her with a puzzled look, wondering what she's about to do next. The woman steps closer and surprises him with what she does next. He tries to back away with a scared look, wondering what she's doing. To stay safe, the young man claims he is already 28 and has 13 wives waiting for him at home. She stared at him with a serious look, studying the whole situation carefully. She calls out his name, and both the young man and the soldiers stop to watch her closely. He gets a bag of cash from the governor, but the way the man works feels all wrong to him. The soldiers checked the cash, found it was from the governor, and cheered at the help. Our hero smiles, realizing the money truly belongs to the soldiers. He turned away the money and handed it back to the soldiers, leaving them staring in shock. The monk gives a martial arts book to the young man as a thank you gift. Thrilled, he grabs the book and realizes it holds the next simple skill he must master. The monk and his guide say goodbye and walk away, leaving the young man by himself with the woman. He declares he will face the Lord in combat and begs her to go away so he can fight without worrying about hurting her. Suddenly, a woman steps closer and whispers a secret in his ear, leaving him wide-eyed and surprised. With their faces inches apart, the two share a few hushed words. The young man jerks back in surprise and warns her that she's playing with fire with that attitude. He strikes a dramatic pose and readies himself for whatever lies ahead. He proudly claims he has learned the iron bed trick and dares her to face him. The woman stops his act and walks up to him with a serious, determined look. She insists that even though she can't see him, she has already found him because his smell and voice belong to the same young man. With a grin, the young man smiled to himself, knowing he was right and that her last name was definitely Ning. She asks if he used makeup to trick everyone, and he explains that a wise man named Wang helped him escape after he was captured. The young man recalls that she wanted to be a sage's student and asks her about it. She told me she's blind and can't fight, so she quit chasing her dream. But now she sees that she might become wise enough to walk a brand new path. The young man rolled his eyes, scoffed at her story, and called it a revenge plot he'd heard 1,000 times before. She walks right up to him, calls his name with a serious and emotional tone. She stops him and looks at him with wide, desperate eyes, begging him to stop. She claims the Lord is a level 6 warrior and says he won't have a chance. Frustrated, the young guy thinks she's trying to steal his wish to pass one more time. She insists she can't watch him die and warns that without giving everything, he will never win. She tells us she's heading out of the city to walk with the sages and promises she won't fight anymore. She passes him a book and tells him it's a special family trick that stirs things up from the inside. The woman shows him the Kia family's hidden trick and begs him to take it. Our hero felt tears in his eyes as he held the gift, touched by her kind gesture. The woman felt out of place and told him his reaction was way too big. The young man stared at the woman with a serious look, and she met his gaze without a single moment of doubt. He holds tight to a promise while the woman looks confused and doesn't know what he needs. He smiles, hands her a book, and asks her to read a few lines out loud. The young man tells them both that they each have their own path, and he is ready to walk his own. With grit in his heart, he promises to forge his own way and never quit on his dream. She stares at him with a grave look, and he reaches out his hand to her in a gesture. She promises to wait 7 days at the temple just outside the city for an answer. She opens her mouth to speak, but a thoughtful silence cuts her off. She tells him that once he arrives, they'll pack up and head off to a new place together. Our hero strolls down the road with a happy heart, singing a song to say goodbye and share the joy. He walks with a box of ashes, declaring that he is burying himself and that the feeling is wonderful. He digs a hole with a shovel and grumbles that his brother left him all alone. From far away, the old man watches a boy crying while he digs a hole in the ground with a shovel. The man puts on his gloves with a wicked look, ready to strike the young man. He swings wildly at our hero, who is too busy staring at the grave to notice the danger. All at once, the box of ashes bursts open and a cloud of white dust smacks right into the old man's face. He lets out a scream of agony as the hot ashes fly into his eyes, blinding him. The old man asks what that is, and our hero reveals it is his brother's ashes. Grinning, our hero tells us they're teaming up to take revenge. He strikes the old man down hard and knocks him straight into the underworld. The old man sneered at the young man for being just a Class 8 kid before swinging his deadly scythe to strike him down. Even though he can't see, he fights just as hard as his opponent, and they trade powerful blows. With a grin, our hero snaps his own bones to strike back. The force of the hit sends him flying apart across the cliff. Our hero crashes to the ground with blood running down his face, but he doesn't even look like he cares. He grins and thanks his brother for helping him with the ashes just when he needed it most. After taking the hit, the old man pulls himself up onto a rock to watch the young man. He says that the two brothers dared to challenge the Lord, and this is what happened. The man gets ready to head back to the city, leaving the young man behind to face the cold, dark fate that awaits him. Suddenly, he feels something behind him, so he spins around, surprised and scared by the shock. Our hero shows up again and shouts at the old thief for daring to attack his family. The man is shocked to see a twin standing before him and gets ready to fight both of them. A red glow wraps around our hero as he unleashes his heavenly demon power. The old man jumps at the sight of the move, then knows he has to use the same trick as before. With a mighty kick, our hero lunges forward and strikes the old man squarely with his attack. He asks if the whole family is crazy enough to want to die, then claims he can take the guy out himself. Our hero takes a hard hit and drops to the ground, not moving at all. The old man lets out a long sigh of relief, declaring that the fight is finally over and there's nothing left to do. Suddenly, our hero jumps out from behind him, greeting him with a chilling, lonely silence. The old man spins around in shock, but a hard slap hits his face and leaves him completely stunned. With a bright smile, our hero steps forward to say he has been reborn as a new Kiamu from the ashes. The old man starts to panic, wondering if he's a demon, a ghost, or a sage. He stares into the young man's eyes and is horrified to see a scary demon staring back. He presses a hand to his chest and insists that all of it is just an illusion that couldn't possibly be real. Our hero stepped forward, laughing at the old man for thinking he could break his stubborn will. Using his heavenly demon power, he throws every ounce of strength he has at the old man. The man can't understand why the whole family went crazy over that technique. Our hero lands a mighty kick that sends the old man flying. He rains down a flurry of punches that the old man struggles to block. The man barely dodges a punch and gets shocked by how fast the young man is moving. Our hero strikes the old man squarely in the face with one sharp, powerful hit. He bids farewell to the sea as the old man hits the ground unresponsive, and the man screams that it's all fake and can't be real. A glowing red light wraps around the old man until he is totally swallowed by his own power. He suddenly gets cold and sweaty as he realizes how much stronger our hero is. Enraged, he shouts at the young man to stop messing around and gets ready to attack. The two rush at each other, screaming that the other must die in this fight. The old man shows his true skill as the two of them trade hard, deadly hits. Our hero throws his very best at the old man, who blocks every blow with years of practice skill. With one last hard hit, the young man shoves a piece of wood deep into the old man's chest. A wicked grin spread across our hero's face as he declared he had no more mercy left and charged forward to strike. The old man gets hit right in the chest and feels the sharp pain of the blow. Our hero quickly spins around and delivers a sharp kick to the old man. The man flies backward across the room, and our hero crashes to the floor, blood pouring from his wounds. The old man stood up and declared that he would chase him down forever, no matter what happened next. He kicks the stone and grins, getting ready for his next move. He cradled the old man in his arms and promised to tell him a scary tale. He shows that his revives are renewed, giving him 5 chances to return. The old man screams for him to let go as they both plummet from the cliff in a wild freefall. Our hero bites off the old man's ear, causing him to scream in agony. Even with his hands bound, the young boy refuses to surrender and throws himself into the battle with everything he has. With eyes burning with rage, he snaps the old man's neck in a furious, determined bite. The man takes a hit right as our hero gets stabbed in the back. Even though he can't use his hands, he says he still has his feet and won't let him get away. The old man feels heavy sleep pulling him under and knows he is drifting away into darkness. Our hero counts the seconds ticking away as they both tumble toward their doom at the bottom of the pit. The man realizes he doesn't have as much as he thought and says goodbye to life. They crash down into the ground so hard the earth splits open, and when our hero wakes up, he finds the old man lying next to him, dead and silent. A screen lights up as the young man cheers that the mission is done. He understands that he still can't control his aura and must grow stronger to change. The system congratulates him and reveals a secret reward, the choice of rebirth point, so with a wicked smile he decides to invade the Lord's property to get his revenge. First, he heads back to the city to swap his clothes and stay out of sight. Inside the Go Mansion's kitchen, a cook tastes the soup while a dark shadow watches him from the corner. Suddenly, a mysterious woman bursts into the kitchen and starts kicking every cook. Our hero steps forward and gets ready for the next part of his plan. He thanks the chefs and heads off to eat something delicious, since it's his first time celebrating a revival. He uses chopsticks to lift a bite of noodles and eats with a happy, satisfied smile. The young master calls him a clever dog and says, "I knew you'd come for the food." He thinks moving now will get him caught instantly, since guards are everywhere. With a grin, he can't help but wonder why he'd be scared of dying if he knows he can come back to life anytime. Suddenly, the kitchen door bursts open with a loud crack, and the young master storms in, his face twisted with anger. With his dog at his side, he yells for the door to open and stares at our hero with pure anger. He laughs at the dog, sneering that the only thing it knows how to do is eat. The guards outside hear the noise and get ready to rush into the kitchen. The hero strikes the young master down with a swift hit, leaving him out cold. He steps forward, wrapped in a shadowy presence, while the dog stares back with a mix of terror and wonder. The young master shouts at his demonic hound to attack the intruder who broke into his kitchen. To his surprise, our hero reached out to pet the dog and called him a good boy. Holding a spear in his mouth, the young master is terrified by what's happening. Our hero questions the man to find out how many warriors of this class are hiding in the mansion. He then asks the young man if he knows anything about the martial arts group. The young master stares in shock and demands to know how she could possibly know all of this. With a dark glare, our hero hisses at him to stop talking and give a fast answer. The young man warned that the Crimson Emperor might arrive in the city within a month. He smiles and says he'll walk our hero right to his dad's office. Our hero is convinced he's tricking the other man into walking right into a trap. He warns him that lying won't stop him from finding the letter, no matter what. The young master flings himself aside to dodge the blade, then pleads with the young man to let him live. Our hero glares with angry red eyes, demanding to know what that secret technique is. The young man showed that the book was called The Guide to Mastery in Legendary Martial Arts. With a hand resting on the young master's neck, our hero readies himself for what comes next. He lifts the boy onto his shoulders and orders him to lead the way, warning him not to play any tricks. When our hero reaches the Lord's office, he takes a seat at the desk and watches everything with careful eyes. The young master declares that no one has the guts to step inside without his father say so. Our hero flips through the book, lost in thought as he tries to figure out how to grow these strange magical powers. He is shocked to see how thin the book is and wonders if it's the entire story. The young man whispered that everything else lies inside the forbidden room and offered to lead him there himself. With a serious look, our protagonist warned him never to try tricking him again. The young master swings the door open and leads our hero down the mansion's twisting hallways. They walk together, with our protagonist making sure the young man stays under his control. The young master wants to get rid of the young man, but he can't see the expressions on his face. He knows that only his dad and Join can save him in this whole city. Sweat pouring down his face, he whispers that if his dad is hiding in the forbidden room, he will make it through. Suddenly, he spots a man and shouts his name with a look of hope. The man named Join steps forward, bows respectfully to the young master, and introduces himself. In his last-ditch effort, the young master begs for help with his eyes, but the man doesn't get the message. The three of them stare at each other in a heavy, quiet silence until our hero suddenly knows something is terribly wrong. The man caught the secret look between them and knew exactly what the young master wanted. With a smile, he tells the young master not to get too close, reminding him that he is married. Just then, a sword shot right through the young master's chest, and everyone gasped in shock. The man stands frozen, staring at the scene in total disbelief as everything around him seems impossible. Our protagonist holds the young master and stares at him with cold, distant eyes. The man screams that an assassin is here and that the young master has been badly hurt. Furious, he lunges forward with his sword drawn to strike down the assassin sent by the young master. With a wicked grin, our hero readies himself for the fight ahead. With a sharp kick, he sends a young master flying, and the man catches him in his arms. Our hero stares at the scene with a serious face, getting ready for what comes next. He meets the man's gaze with fierce determination, ready to fight the battle that is about to start. Suddenly, the city lord appears with a purple glow and a dark scowl, slowly stepping forward to face our hero, who watches him with a smile. The lord stares down at the young man with pure contempt and readies himself for the fight. With a grin, our hero finally decides to take action and steps up to face him. His eyes burn with a fierce blue light as he gets ready to face his enemy. Two warriors rush at each other and clash their weapons with mighty force. The lord strikes our hero with such force that the man flies through the air and crashes right through the roof. He hits the ground without a scratch and gets ready to face the enemy's next move. With blood in his mouth, he dares the lord to prove his power by taking him out if he can. The man rushes forward with his spear, but our hero stands his ground with a grin, ready to meet the charge with his own weapon. The two trade blows, and with every swing, the fight gets fiercer. With a mighty strike, the lord knocks the spear from our hero's hands. The boy's spear crashes down and plants itself deep into the dirt from the hard hit. With a grin, he brags that he's finally got his trick down and promises he won't die. The lord steps forward and lands a mighty punch right on our hero's face, hitting him hard. Enraged, he demands to know why the young man took his son out with no mercy at all. With a smile, our hero declared that if evil goes unpunished, the heavens must be unfair. He then gets ready for his next move and stares down the lord with a bold, defiant look. With a furious shout, he vowed that if the heavens wouldn't punish him, he would do it himself. The man hits the ground, defeated, and stares at the young man with shock and fear. Our hero surges forward with a mighty strike, ready to deliver the finishing blow. With a sneer on his face, he turns to the lord and gets ready for the final fight. The two fight hard, and the young man's spear hits against the lord's shield. Our hero's sword flies straight at the lord, who grabs it with his bare hands. Our hero, glowing with a fierce red aura, throws himself into the attack with every ounce of his strength and will. The lord vows to hang the young man's body for 10 days as a gift for his son. With a mighty kick, he sends our hero crashing to the ground, leaving them unable to move. The crowd roars and cheers for their lord as they watch the fight closely. With blood filling his mouth, our hero begs to die quickly from the pain. He grins wickedly, staring down the lord with pure contempt and daring him to move. The man pulls out his sword and gets ready to strike the final blow at our hero. With a sudden rush, he strikes, and our hero thrusts his spear forward to block the blow. The blow smashes into the young man's hands, shattering them with the sheer force of the attack. The man declares that the lord despises brutes and will tear the young man apart completely. He grips his sword tightly and readies himself to strike the hero's legs. He strikes the young man's legs with a sharp hit, causing him to scream in agony from the pain. Our hero finally sees the old man only wants to torture him and will never stop until he breaks him. He starts to recite a poem, and the lord stares at him with a mix of shock and rage. The man wondered why he felt so happy even when things were really bad. So angry, he lunges at him and demands to know how he dares write a poem in such a moment. With a wicked grin, he unleashes his heavenly demon power once again. With burning red eyes, he lunges forward while the lord raises his sword to meet the charge. The man was shocked to find the young one saved his strength for the very end. Our hero leaps aside to avoid the strike and immediately kicks the lord. As he plummets toward the well, a guard freezes in shock at the sight. The lord sees the young man running away and gets so mad that he is furious about it. Our hero plunges headfirst into the well and fades away from the force of the fall. The man stares in shock at the young man's stubbornness, completely baffled by his self-destructive ways. With a furious smash, the lord hurls his sword into the earth, letting his anger and frustration explode all at once. He grumbles that despite the crowd, the mansion lets all that trash spill out. Furious, he tells his soldiers to march on the Kia family and kill everyone there. He called Joe Win and told him to go down to the well and find the young man's body. The man nods his head and gets ready to do his lord's job right away. Meanwhile, the thief boss and his gang are walking along the river just outside the city. Suddenly, one of them spots something strange floating in the water and dives in to get a closer look. As they looked into the river, they found our hero's body floating there and gasped in surprise. The leader tells his men to pull him from the water and check if he's still alive. 3 days later, the sad news of the young master's death traveled all over the city. Our hero's face is now on a wanted poster hanging on the city walls. Almost everyone prays for the hero and hopes he makes it through the danger. She feels sure the young man will be okay because the sage helped him before. Suddenly, our hero wakes up wrapped in bandages and realizes he didn't pass away. A sharp, burning agony tears through his wounds, and he knows his body is shattered beyond repair. The thief boss and his gang watch him, leaving the young man confused by what's happening. The man insists it's his job to save the hero and says he doesn't need any thanks. The hero wonders why he saved that man, so the leader tells him to take a break. Annoyed, the young man wonders if he should stick around to help the other guy get better. He begged the leader to stop saving him because he didn't want to be a burden to anyone. The man believes he's a real hero who looks out for everyone. He clutches the young man's hand so tightly that it makes the boy scream in pain. The leader tells him not to give up but to keep fighting with hope. He starts fixing the young man with his special skill, only to make him hurt even worse. Our hero prays for freedom from the man who is trying to take his life. 2 days later, the leader is sad about the young man's death and says he was a real hero. He looks at the village and calls out his brother's name with a heavy heart. A screen flickers to life, revealing his brand new powers and the rewards waiting for him after he passes. He feels a heavy weight lifted off his shoulders now that he has finally crossed over, even if it took him some time to get there. Trying to save him only made his end come sooner and made his death more certain. When he reached 8th grade, he felt a wild, swirling storm begin to stir deep inside him. His fighting skills grew so sharp, it was as if he had spent decades training. He gazed at his bulging muscles and grinned, realizing the system worked far better than he ever dreamed. He walks through the forest with a smile on his face, ready for the next part of his plan. Out of nowhere, men pop up from the bushes and circle him with looks of suspicion. He jumps at their sudden appearance, asking who they are and what they want from him. One of them wonders why he looks just like the man they know. Our hero comes up with a clever excuse and plans to try a fresh trick to fool them. Kia Sang steps forward, introduces himself, and tells the story that he is searching for his son, Colin. The men are stunned, remarking that he doesn't look much older than 30. He smiles, believing his youth is the result of the immortal fist. He bragged about his tough training and begged them to take him to find his missing son. A few moments later, the same thing happens again at the thief's base. Our hero lies still in bed, pretending to be gone while the leader cries. He comforts the leader and urges him not to be so broken over the loss of his son. The young man tells the leader that life must go on, and the leader stares at him in surprise. With a fiery rage, he vows to crush the Lord who has no mercy for his 2 sons. He asks the leader to come stand with him and fight for the people against the tyrant. He has grown strong enough to stand before the Lord in Class 7, but he still needs a helper by his side. The leader feels powerful but acts too fast, so he takes a moment to cool things down first. He warns that taking down the Lord will take time and that storming the mansion won't work. The leader tells him to take his time thinking about it and to come back when he's ready to decide. He says he'll carry the boy's body away to make sure the dogs won't stop him from doing what he planned. The thief leader looks stunned and asks if he truly means to send back his son's body. He says the Lord hates his son and will hang him on the city wall for everyone to see. Our hero stares hard at the leader, his face serious, and asks if what he heard is actually true. He grinned as he told his son that his body would be the perfect bait to lure the Lord. The leader screams that he is his own son, but the young man just ignores him. Our hero steps forward and declares that he will become the bait to take the Lord's place and save his son. The leader stares at the young man, stunned by his bold words and completely lost for what to say. He sighs, calls our hero brother, and looks at him with deep admiration. He bows and tells the young man that he holds him in the highest regard for his bravery. With a grin, our hero believes he's found a new ally and a solid plan to take the bad guy down. A carrier pigeon flies into the Lord's room, bringing him a very important message. The man stared at the letter with a serious and thoughtful look, letting the news sink in. He finds out that even the most powerful fortune tellers cannot learn anything about the Kia family. He smiles as he realizes the 2 stupid boys almost fooled him, and suddenly he gets angry. A guard walks in and says they found our hero's body in the river. Furious, the Lord commands that they bring the body to him immediately so he can see it. A coffin is dragged into the room, and the man steps forward to open it with trembling hands. He nods to confirm it's Colin's body and stares at it with a serious look. He ordered check to see if the doctor who found him in the river had any issues. The Lord says he will personally hang the body on the city wall.